Hello, hello, hello. It's Knits for Sanity, and welcome to day 10 of my holiday celebration with the Add More Zest, Zesty Advent Diamond Painting Calendar, as well as their 12 Days of Christmas Gift Advent Calendar. Like I have mentioned, there was a 24-day Advent calendar, but that sold out way fast. Good for them. And so I just feel lucky that I was able to get the 12-day Advent calendar. Now, the sad part is I'm already on day 10, so that means that I'm almost done. Oh, but let's get started, shall we? Day 10, day 10. Let's open up day 10. Oh, this is great, guys. All right, so what we have here, this is a handy way you can store your drills. So you can store like extra drills in these bags. You don't actually have to rip these bags at the top. They are resealable. So you can store your drills in here. And then she actually provided a ring so you can string them all together. This is a nice way to organize some extra drills. I'm actually thinking, you know, what would make a really cute gift for a diamond painter is using these and putting some like really pretty drills in these bags and then putting them on this ring. And that would make a really awesome gift for a diamond painter. Just a little, you know, suggestion there if you're looking for another gift for a diamond painter in your life. But I think that'd be really fun. You know, fill these up with some crystals or some ABs, jelly drills, just something, you know, super pretty and then put it on the ring. And that would be really fun and cute. I'd like that as a gift. So there you go. But this is really awesome. Again, Add More Zest has done such a wonderful job. This is their first year doing this gift advent calendar. And I feel like they've really knocked it out of the ballpark. They worked hard to keep this at a reasonable cost, but still filled with great, fun, useful things. And I think they've done an excellent job. So thank you so much, Add More Zest. All right, so today is day 10. Which is this square up here. So I'm going to turn my painting. And like I've talked about before, I did not lay down my squares perfectly. Now, Rebecca over at Add More Zest, she did. Her squares are like immaculate. They're so clean. She cut her paper, her cover paper, exactly the right size. I didn't do that. All my papers were cut the exact same size. So each square is covered a little bit differently. So like here, day 4, its right side border row of drills was covered up, and I will now complete it for day 10. So that's what I decided to do. I was not going to drive myself bonkers trying to figure out and get the right cuts for all these. It just wasn't that important to me. I decided I could handle doing it this way. So that's what I've done. And in case you are brand new to these, what I do is I just talk for a little bit of time, share some kind of holiday related story, and then I will fast forward you for the remainder of this video. And you can just listen to me work in super fast speed as I finish up this square, and you listen to some fun holiday tunes in the background. And then I do come back at the very end and I show you the completed square. Yesterday, if you did not catch yesterday's day 9 holiday celebration, you may want to go back and see that one. Because that one plays into today's story. Or if you happened to listen to my Whip and Chat where I discuss luminaries and 12 days of Christmas from my husband's side of the family, then you'll pretty much be up to snuff. So my husband's side of the family, they started doing luminaries lots of years ago, and that is a tradition that we continue doing every Christmas Eve with my father-in-law. It is now just my family and my father-in-law who do the luminary tradition. My mother-in-law has since passed. And it's something that my kids have really come to love and cherish. It is one thing that when I asked my husband, what are favorite childhood memories, what are favorite traditions that you did as a family when you were a kid, luminaries has always been his answer. And I did reveal in the Whip and Chat where I talked about it, truthfully, I'm not a particular fan of doing the luminaries. When the weather is perfect and it's just this gorgeous Christmas Eve evening and it's not raining, but it's not too cold, maybe a light snowfall, but not like heavy snow, then it actually is quite lovely. But the number of years that it's been raining, I really have no interest walking up and down the street in the rain. I'm just not into that. But this family, it doesn't matter. If it's raining, you go out, you put up those luminaries. So anyway, it is a tradition. My family loves doing it. And of course, when you listen to day 9 and you learn the story behind it and everything, you will understand why this is something that is so important for the family. And therefore, it is something that, of course, yes, I will continue to do every year as long as we are doing it. And I will continue to help out and try and enjoy it. At the very least, I definitely appreciate all of the sentiment behind it. Well, when my kids were little, the girls in particular, when they were little, there were actually there may have only been 1 year that my husband was able to get all of the girls ready for school in the morning and put them on the bus, which my husband loves doing this. For him, at least when the kids are little. Now that the girls are, middle school and like teenage age and the morning is earlier, he's not the same fan, but he does still love doing this with our son, who is still, early elementary and just a little kid. But when the kids are little, my husband loves this time of day where the kids are ready for school and they are at the end of the driveway, generally waiting in the car because our driveway is very long and the bus, because we live in a rural area, the bus is not a very exact arrival time. So the kids would otherwise potentially be standing at the end of the driveway in the dark and cold snow for 20 minutes waiting for the bus. And that just really doesn't seem very acceptable to any of us. So typically it's waiting in the car during the winter. And he would read to the children. And there would be a book that they would be reading together. Sometimes it would be a podcast, but especially when the girls were young, like my son's age, it would be a book that they were reading together as they waited for the bus. And one year, the girls had recently found a Christmas Carol book. I think it's an Usborne Christmas Carol book that had, these beautiful illustrations and all the Christmas carols were in there. And so starting maybe right after Thanksgiving or very beginning of December, while they waited for the bus, they would practice Christmas carols from this Christmas Carol book. And they got kind of good. Like they really started to learn all of these Christmas carols. Well, one aspect of doing luminaries, and particularly if it is a nice night, again, when it's raining, it's kind of just get the luminaries out there. But when it is a nice night, Christmas caroling generally goes along with doing the luminaries. And this year, when they were out doing the luminaries, my guess is this was probably like the 1 year I stayed behind. I stayed at my in-laws' house because our son would have been an infant. And it, at that time, it just made more sense to just stay back with him. And then I helped clean up dinner and everyone else did the luminaries, and I just stayed with my son back at the house. So I was not actually out doing luminaries this year. But my husband said they got toward the end of the street, and there was a family there who had been waiting for them. They knew that pretty soon the luminary family would be coming down the street. And so when they arrived to put out the luminary, this family started singing Christmas carolers. But the song they chose was Here We Come A-Wassailing. And they started singing, but then quickly realized they didn't know all of the lyrics. But that's okay, because that was one of the songs that my girls had spent their mornings waiting for the bus learning. So I guess the girls hopped right up and they completed singing the song for this family that had tried to greet them with carol singing. So pretty fun, I guess. That's one thing that I wish I could have maybe seen that. But honestly, I'm kind of okay that I didn't, because I heard the story and I think it's a great story. In years past, we have had people meet us and give, usually they, like the last couple of years, because my mother-in-law hasn't been around, usually they'll come running out and they'll hand me some cash to give to my father-in-law as a thank you for doing the luminaries, recognizing, this is definitely an expense when he's getting, I don't even remember. He knows the exact number of luminaries needed every year. It's well over 50. I don't even remember. And there were years where they would do like the entire street. And I mean, it's a lot of houses. Last year, a woman who was aware of my father-in-law's situation, that he had just recently had major heart surgery in mid-November, she actually took it upon herself to complete half of the street for my father-in-law. And so last year we only did half of the street, which was, I thought, really kind. Just seeing how into it my kids get, and the fact that they are still really looking forward to it again this year. This year, I'm a little nervous. We'll see how it goes. My father-in-law has to work Christmas Eve. I've talked about that in my Whip and Chat too. It's the very first year that he needs to work Christmas Eve. It's the only day of the year that he ever requests off. But with the number of sick kids at his hospital right now, he is a pediatrician at the hospital, and the fact that 2 of the other hospitalist pediatricians are out on maternity leave, they are short-staffed and overbooked, if you will. So he's hoping to make it home at a decent time so we can still do luminaries, which I hope so too. I think that's really important for him, and it's good for my kids. Hopefully it will work out. And fortunately, my children are a little bit older. My son's still really, really little, but my father-in-law doesn't live especially close to us. He's almost an hour away. And then that means after we do that, then we need to still drive home that night. And of course, be all prepared for Santa to arrive. And then we wake up and we do Christmas at our house. And then we have to pack up and we head down and do Christmas with my folks who live just over an hour away. So it gets to be a lot of traveling, and I don't like making Christmas Eve a late night because of that. But we will do whatever we need to this year. It's important for my father-in-law. He's been through a lot the last few years, definitely. So we will hopefully just have it all work out just fine. And that is my story for today. I know I feel bad. It wasn't terribly enthusiastic. I think maybe I'm running out of ideas, guys. And not enough of you have given me Christmas story ideas. Here, I can share this other little tidbit. So yesterday, I ended up talking quite a bit about wrestling, mostly because my daughter was home with me at that time, who, by the way, she is back at school today. She's very relieved because that means that now she can go to the JV tournament tonight, and she can definitely go to the home tournament tomorrow. But Wednesday night, I still had to go to that tournament Wednesday night because I had the team's iPad, which my daughter actually wrote a proposal to the sports boosters herself this past spring in order to get that for the team. As a 6th grader, she wrote this proposal and it was accepted. And so she got this iPad for the team, but I had that at home with me because she took it home so she could charge it and start editing the videos and stuff. So I had to show up for sure to at least drop off that iPad, but then I also had to get it back at the end so that Veda could continue with getting all those videos grouped together. And so it really just made sense just to stay there then for the whole thing. Plus, of course, I know all of these kids competing and I really, really love all of these children and I want to support them. And typically Wednesday night is date night for my husband and me, which you might know that already. But during wrestling season, we need to kind of change it up. Actually, during wrestling season, we don't date because it's just wrestling all of the time. Because then my son has practices Tuesdays and Thursdays. Sometimes we try and squeeze in a quick date during wrestling practice, but that's really hard to do because we live in an area where there's nothing. But anyway, all of that to say that, so then for Wednesday night, when I realized that I was going to have Veda stay home because she was not feeling well, but I would still have to go to the tournament, I told my husband, well, why don't you come with me? And we'll make it a date. It'll be so much fun. And my husband really is not into wrestling to the same extent that I am. Now, I've mentioned it and I've made it very clear that wrestling is not something that I grew up with. It's not something that I ever thought in a million years that I would be into. It's my daughter's fault. It took me a couple years, but then I started to really get into the sport and now I'm a wrestling enthusiast and I'm like, yes, wrestling is a phenomenal sport. I think, all kids should at least try wrestling. So I took him to the tournament Wednesday night, during which I discovered that I am a very lousy date because I really get into the bouts. So I'm not exactly a good conversationalist. And to make it even worse, my husband, who doesn't really understand the sport well, I'm so into the bouts that I try and start explaining what's happening, but there's always action during the bout. So then I kind of would stop explaining what's happening. So yeah, I make a really lousy date for a wrestling tournament. But that's okay. He ended up making friends with one of the referees when he got done working the tournament. So, he made a new friend and there was still enough excitement during the tournament that he tells me he still did have a good time. So I guess the date wasn't a total loss. It just really wasn't a good date. It wasn't, I guess, the best bonding experience, except for the fact that he could see again just how crazy his wife is. And that's, yeah. So there you go. So in case you're thinking the whole family knits for sanity, this family is really, really bonkers. They're this total wrestling family. That's not actually the case. It's really, really just my daughter and me. And I'm not so silently hoping that my son will really take root to this as well. But we'll see, because in many ways, he says wrestling is his favorite out of all the activities that he does. But I kind of actually think that it's dance, which is fine. That's awesome. I'm going to follow my kid and we will do whatever we need to do. If we have to become a hardcore dance family, then we'll become a hardcore dance family. All right. So that was quite a bit of rambling today. Now I'm going to speed you up and get done with this square, and then I will show you the final result. I'm back. Look at that adorable penguin. Oh, cute, cute, cute. And look, I got 3 touching squares now. We are 10 days in, only 15 more left to do. Again, I love this. I love the amount of detail in here. You know, you have these trees. Super, super cute. Thank you so much for joining me for day 10. Please come back for day 11. And like I always say, please practice kindness. You never, ever know what someone is going through. So it's just easier and better to be kind. And I hope that you have an awesome, awesome day. And I will see you again real soon.